Hi students, welcome to lesson number 8 on caste conflicts. Now we will have a brief introduction of this lesson. In the pre-modern period, caste had been a complete dominating force, an extraordinarily intricate and inflexible form of social stratification. Though it accepted occupational mobility and thereby status mobility, for certain cases it was in one way or another a closed system. In the contemporary context, it is undergoing rapid changes. Nevertheless, these changes are not related to its core elements, but they are mostly related to its functional aspects. It is claimed by some that caste is more or less a stable system, and at times it even reinforces itself, whereas the others maintain that caste is undergoing changes and giving rise to class distinctions. Few assert that caste is permanent and continues to exist in India in the midst of changes accelerated by modern forces, and it is undergoing remarkable changes and giving way to the development of class. However, these divergent views on caste system are not completely true. At the present time, it is understood that in spite of its obvious presence, the caste system accepts changes with regard to its functional aspect by retaining its core elements. It seems to assume new functions in contemporary times in accordance with changing social situation because of its flexible nature. Now, the objectives of this lesson. This lesson helps the students to understand the concept of caste conflicts, their causes and consequences. It also helps them to know the constitutional provisions made to resolve caste conflicts. Now, let me brief you on the caste and caste conflict. Since the origin of caste system, caste conflict has been an inevitable phenomena in all spheres of life. The obvious reason is that it is a root cause of social inequality. In the social hierarchy, castes are graded not based on one's accomplishment but on one's birth. This resulted in ranks such as higher caste, lower caste and untouchable caste. In the course of time, the social distance between higher and lower caste widened and led through thorough social discrimination. The caste people in the apex of social hierarchy started exercising privileges, power and supremacy over the lower caste and untouchable caste people. The latter were subjected to all sorts of discrimination, exploitation and humiliation. The idea of keeping one section of people from a remaining larger section of population is perhaps explained in terms of the concept of purity and pollution. At one point of time in the history of Indian society, this discrimination became sharp, thereby making untouchability a serious problem. As a result of this, caste conflicts all over India led to violence and bloodshed. Caste system did a great damage to the backward and scheduled caste people, besides restricting economic development at large. As Indian society has already entered into the process of industrialization, modernization and westernization, the suppressed lot have started realizing their rights and privileges. Especially after independence, the realization among them found full expression owing to the impact of social movements. The spread of modern education and political awareness have contributed substantially to the awakening of the marginalized groups. Now, let us have a brief understanding about caste. Caste is an age-old social institution associated with the life of Indians. It is an endogamous unit and its membership is based on birth alone. One's person in the social hierarchy is invariably decided by one's birth. It imposes on its members certain restriction in the case of social intercourse. Its members follow a common traditional occupation and claim a common origin and form a single homogeneous community. Bailey refers to three characteristics of caste, namely rigidity, purity, pollution and ranking, while analyzing the caste system in India. Giving a structural definition of caste, Yogendra Singh premises his concept on two issues. whether caste as a structural phenomena is supposed to be Indian in substance, and as a cultural reality, whether it belongs primarily to the Indian tradition or whether it crosses Indian boundaries. Based on these two principles, he identifies 4 types of caste principles, namely cultural universality, cultural particularistic, structural universality, and structural particularistic. It is clear from the above analysis that endogamy, heredity, and traditional occupation are the important characteristic features of caste system. The purity pollution concept related to caste system is slowly disappearing in contemporary India due to modern forces. In spite of the changes that the Indian society is undergoing, it seems to be a probable fact that caste system may persist even if the practice of the Puritan pollution principle is abandoned. Nevertheless, the idea and practice of the purity pollution principle are subject to alteration by the legal abolition of untouchability, westernization, and modernization are eroding the concept of pollution. Now, we will understand about caste and subcaste. Caste is a large unit and subcaste a smaller one. In other words, a subcaste is a part of the caste. Both of them have the characteristic features of endogamy and hierarchy. The rules of a caste are normally applicable to all the members of the larger unit. On the other hand, the specific rules of a subcaste are applicable to the members of that small unit only. However, subcastes are the essence of the caste system. They may therefore be considered real units of the caste system. Now, we have a discussion on caste conflict. The term caste conflict generally refers to a fight, struggle, collision, or a clash of opponent caste groups. 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 contends that social conflict is a struggle over values and claims to secure status, power, and resources in which the aims of the opponents are to neutralize, injure, or eliminate their rivals. However, from a sociological point of view, John Rex says that conflict is not a random disorder, rather it refers to a meaningful action in pursuit of goals. According to 𝗳𝗏, conflict is a particular kind of socialization, whereas for Max Weber, it is a social relationship. Psychological concepts such as hostility, aggressive impulses, and antagonistic sentiments do have a bearing on conflict. In one way or another, conflict involves a relationship in which these aggressive impulses and antagonistic sentiments find expression. Rappert has given threefold classification of conflicts, that is, fight games and debates. In a fight, the opponent is viewed as a nuisance. The main aim is to harm him. In a game, the opponent is viewed as essentially like oneself, and the aim is to outdo him. In a debate, the opponent is viewed as an essential one, and the aim is to convince him. It may also be relevant to consider a set of processes relating to concepts such as resistance, protest, rebellion, revolt, and revolution in relation to conflict. Jairam and Satish Sabharwal observes that these processes are associated with relation of dominance. The elements of power and authority are an integral part of relation of dominance. The tendency of suppressed caste people to turn down their relationship with dominant caste people may result in open rebellion, revolt, or revolution. Therefore, the caste conflict in such circumstances is inevitable. Now, we will discuss about caste conflict in India. Conflicts in contemporary India arise against a historical backdrop which has experienced a mixing of cultural codes. These conflicts may be analyzed in terms of various dimensions. There are innumerable interpersonal conflicts in everyday life. Their content varies greatly depending partly on their institutional context like family, workplace, marketplace, etc. They are related to claims over property, status, power, and disagreement over role assignment, division of labor, or problems of personality adjustment. Violence may sharpen and intensify such conflicts and ultimately terminate the relationship itself. The interpersonal conflicts between two individuals is prevalent everywhere. This gives rise to group conflicts. The move from interpersonal to group conflicts involves collective mobilization. The caste conflict, that is the conflict between two caste groups, is a fitting example for this sort of conflict. The opposition between any two caste groups, that is the rival caste group, is found all over the country. For instance, the Reddys and the Kammas in Andhra Pradesh, the 𝗬𝗏s and the 𝗬𝗏s in southern Tamil Nadu are some of the examples of rival castes conflicting frequently with each other. Besides the attack of non-Brahmins on Brahmins in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, the anti-mandal agitation in the 1990s also expression of pan-India caste conflict reflecting the agitation of backward caste against forward caste. The rise of caste conflict may be due to the imposition of one's will on others, jealousy about the development and progress of opponent groups, and narrowing down of the gap between high and low status of the conflicting caste and the like in India. A large section of the scheduled caste people work as agricultural laborers for their livelihood. A majority of them live on the brink of destitution and therefore they are barely able to feed their families. Similarly, they are unable to break away from the bond of debt. Consequently, they put their children to work in order to earn at a tender age instead of sending them to schools. In rural areas, they are still segregated from the caste Hindus. They still dig graves, dispose of animal corpses, beat drums during funerals, use separate tumblers in tea stalls and the like. Nevertheless, they are undergoing remarkable changes in the socio-economical, political and religious spheres of life. Their access to education and employment due to reservation has been a major reason for these changes. The political mobilization of these people has also been an important reason which has undoubtedly enabled them to enjoy their rights and privileges on par with the caste Hindus. This phenomenal change is more pronounced in cities and towns than in rural areas. The development and progress registered by the scheduled caste people, especially in the socio-economic and political spheres, has posed a challenge to the caste Hindus all over India. As a result of this, the conflict between the scheduled caste people on the one hand and the backward class people on the other hand has become an inescapable phenomena across India. Especially in Bihar state, this sort of conflict is rampant, resulting in gruesome murders and loss of property. Since the formation of the 𝗬𝗏 by upper caste people in 1994, there have been more incidents of caste violence. Mass killings, lootings and assault of women are episodes occurring frequently in the state. Similar caste conflicts and violence have been reported in some other states of India. Now, we will discuss the causes of caste conflicts. The first cause is the social causes. First one, in that we will discuss about inciting slogans. Since a deep-rooted ill will persists between the upper and lower caste, the member of one caste group try to provoke the members of the rival caste group in public places. The simplest way to provoke the rival caste member is to raise provocative and inciting slogans during processions, festivals and other congregations for social intercourse. As a matter of fact, several conflicts occur in this way. Second, it is encroachment of government land. The Porambakku lands that are empty government lands are utilized for common purposes such as grazing, thrashing and the like with the people of the village. The government has the power to give this land to private individuals for their personal use by issuing pattas, that is legal ownership, in their favor. In many villages, a stretch of such land is located in the middle of village which is commonly enjoyed by the villagers. In such places, they use them for playing, conducting marriages, celebrating temple festivals and the like. When certain caste people want to take away such lands exclusively for their personal use, their other caste people raise objection, resulting in caste clashes. Next, it is a provocative speech by caste leaders. It is common that provocative and obnoxious speeches of leaders cause serious trouble. They wish to keep the pot boiling with the ulterior motive of establishing their position as caste leaders. They do not want peace to prevail and hence to resort to making provocative speeches. Another social cause is two-glass system. The practice of serving the Dalits with drinks and beverages in separate glasses in hotels and tea liquor shop was not widespread in the period between 1975 and 2000, though it was a widespread practice earlier. There were instances when the two-tumbler system was practiced against the Dalits, or they were sent away without providing drinks, giving some false reasons. Thus, the Dalits were in a precarious situation of not being able to drink tea or coffee in the tea stalls even within their villages, after their day-hard toil and labor in the paddy fields. This was resented by the Dalits and was an important cause for conflicts between the Dalits and the caste Hindus. Another social cause is intercaste marriage. In Indian villages, there is a strict adherence to caste, sect and subsect in the matter of matrimony. Though solemnizing a marriage between persons of two different castes as it is a matter of rarity. When a boy and a girl from different castes love each other, marry each other, it is firmly opposed not only by the parents but also by the people of both the castes. Often, it leads to conflict between the two caste groups. Another cause is the refusal of Dalits to work as agricultural laborers. The Dalit men and women are expected to work as agricultural laborers in the fields and as servant maids in the houses of other castes. In these days of social awakening, the Dalit children getting employed with high salary by virtue of their high educational qualification, they no more want their parents to do such menial jobs. This aches and pricks the other caste people. Another major cause is untouchability. It is found that the most hurting and degrading evil of the caste system is prevalence of untouchability. It is artificial, man-made and barbaric and highly humiliating. It is a curse that despite several legal insulations, this evil continues even today, causing insults to body, mind and soul of the affected person, though many are better human beings than others elsewhere and anywhere. Another cause is unemployment. Large-scale unemployment and underemployment promotes caste conflicts. In the villages, the unemployed fell a prey to the designs of unemployment is a major cause of caste conflicts. Despite efforts to achieve 100% literacy, many of the villagers remain illiterates. The youth among the illiterates fall a prey in the hands of politicians, and caste leaders instigate caste clashes with their underlying motives. Another cause of caste conflict is the economic causes. Dalits have stopped approaching the other castes for loans. The other castes, unable to tolerate the money power achieved and attained by the Dalits, come into conflict with them. Other causes such as unequal distribution of wealth, which has been observed that wealth and job creation is still in the hands of people from upper dominant caste. There is a fight for share in economic well-being. There is also lack of alternative sources for earning livelihood, and there is a skewed proportion and have-nots. Another cause of caste conflict are the political causes. When Parliament enacted the Constitution, the 73rd Amendment Act 1993, it was expected to bring about participatory democracy at the grassroots level as a major shift in the process of development. It provided for statutory resolution to elect women for local bodies. Besides, the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe Dalits who have contested political office in village, council and municipalities through seats that have been constitutionally reserved for them have been threatened with physical abuse and even death in order to get them to withdraw from the campaign. Other causes, which includes unequal share in power, growing political awareness, assertion for rights, exploitation of various kinds. Next important cause is the religious causes. Disputes over the mode and rite of celebrating the temple festivals, denial of right of entry of Dalits into the sanctum and sanctorium of the temple, and dispute over receiving the first honor in the temple, and the dispute over pulling the temple car, and opposition by a caste against another caste taking a religious possession through their place of worship, with beating of drums have led to alarming proportion of caste conflicts. Another cause is the civil cause. The disputes over ownership of land, using of watershed, rights of fishing in village ponds, winning of candidates in election are reason for caste conflicts in several occasions. Another important cause of conflict is the criminal causes. First comes the murder. The murder of a person from one caste by the members of another caste can lead to clashes between the two caste groups. Second is eve teasing. Eve teasing of a girl by a boy of different caste in the school, college, bus stand, railway station and other public places has been a reason for coalition. Violence on Dalit women. In villages, when a group of women are engaged in agriculture work, some men take advantage of the solitary movements and abuse them. Some men take advantage of the poverty of women and entice them and also provide them with some economic assistance. It is found that in such rape cases, the Dalit women outnumber their counterparts from all other castes. Another criminal cause is the damage and sacrilege to the statues. The act of damaging, disfiguring and denigrating and defiling the statues of caste leaders, caste name boards and caste flags have flared up the caste disputes. Now let us discuss the consequences of caste conflicts. Caste conflicts which are unique to Indian society leave behind devastation and distress at a large scale. In real sense, not even an iota of benefit accrues to any of the conflicting castes or societies at large. Caste conflicts make the society poorer and trouble-torn. In this regard, the experience of Bihar state is a classic example. In terms of social and economic development, if Bihar today is rated very low, one singular attributing factor to its backwardness is the lack of social harmony. Social upheavals and caste conflicts in Bihar have retarded its economic growth, even though it is not far behind in terms of its resource endowment. The proliferation of caste conflicts would also contribute substantially to the backwardness of people. Every social and economic activity today is seen to be influenced by the caste relations. Anyone not coming under the caste fold is considered to be an alien. The people of any caste would show their enmity in one way or another to their rival caste people. The social fabric is not strengthened by cordial inter-caste relation, but it is weakened by caste conflicts. No doubt, frequent caste conflicts across India would result in social disharmony and disorder. Social harmony, especially in rural areas, is a prerequisite for all economic pursuits and the articulation of democratic aspirations. The negation of social harmony makes a negative impact on all economic and political activities. The loser is not one caste or one section, but the Indian society as a whole. The major consequence of caste conflict is a narrow compartmentalization of society in terms of division, and each division is pulling in different direction. The results are obvious: dissipation of human energy, low productivity, stagnation in upgradation, decrease in investment trend, non-utility of community assets to an optimum level, and increase in cost of education, health hygiene, etc. These are tangible and measurable outcomes, but very important is the intangible outcome in terms of the loss of peace and human happiness, the ultimate end of life itself. People may be restored in war-torn area, but not in a region prone to the caste conflicts. The reason is that the war comes to an end sooner or later, but the caste conflicts would continue unabated if its causes are not diagnosed and treated carefully. It would spread like an infectious disease. Though peace may be restored temporarily through police intervention or administrative control, the malaise requires not a palliative but a curative remedy. Now we will discuss about the caste resolutions. Enormous efforts have been put forth by the government and the non-governmental agencies to prevent caste conflicts in the country. the constitutional provisions. In the post-independence period, the Constitution of India under Article 46 provided for the protection of Dalits from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. Provisions were also made under Article 338(1) for the appointment of a special officer to implement the measures adopted for their upliftment. The Untouchability Offence Act 1955 was enacted to provide punishment to those practicing open discrimination. Instances denying admission of persons into institution maintained for the benefit of general public, refusing to sell goods or render services, thereby committing offences of untouchability, were dealt with by the encroachment of this act. Yet there was no let in the incidence of violence against the scheduled caste. In order to plug the loopholes in the act, certain amendments were effected. The amended act, known as Protection of Civil Rights Act, came into force with effect from November 19, 1976. The PCR Act made untouchability offences non-bailable. The Scheduled Castes and the Scheduled Tribes Act could not be guaranteed protection to their life and property, and hence the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocity Act 1989 was enacted. This act provides for stringent punishment for offences of atrocities committed by dominant castes as well as neglect of duties by the state officials. Provision for setting up special courts for speedy trial of cases is yet another feature of this act. Section 14 of this act in Chapter 4 provides for formation of special courts, which reads as follows. For the purpose of providing for speedy trial, the state government shall, with the concurrence of the Chief Justice of the High Court by notification in the official gazette, specify for each district a court of session to be a special court to try the offences under this act. In pursuance of the aforesaid Act rules, the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocity Rules 1995, the central government set forth a wide range of precautionary measures to be taken. These include identifying the conflict-prone area, cancelling firearm licenses, seizure of illegal possessions of firearms, providing firearm licenses to the members of Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes as a measure of self-defense, constituting committee at state, districts and divisional levels, setting up a vigilance and monitoring committee to implement the provision of the Act, whereas setting up awareness centers and organizing workshops to sensitize the Dalits about their rights and the protection which are available to them, in encouraging the NGOs for establishing and maintaining awareness centers and also organizing workshops and providing them with financial and other supports. There is a provision in the rules for the supervision of prosecution of cases, setting up of Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes protection cells at the state level for conducting surveys in the conflict-prone areas and conducting investigation about the combustible factors leading to the conflict. Spot inspection to be held by officers concerned is a notable feature of these rules. In case of failure on the part of the officer in charge of the jurisdiction to prepare FIR, the protection cell is expected to make inquiry into it. As per the rules, state level vigilance and monitoring committee and a district level vigilance and a monitoring committee are to be set up. A role of other agencies to resolve conflicts. The survivors of violence are left with the feeling of betrayals and disruption of social network system. The common psychosocial and emotional reactions are anxiety, panic, tension, fear, shock, disbelief or denial of the situation. There is severe breakdown of the social support system as the affected members of the community will be rendered to enable the help other victims. The support for victims of violence with special reference to their care, education and training is needed for their physical and psychological rehabilitation. The government institutions like the National Foundation for the Communal Harmony provide financial assistance for the rehabilitation of children rendered orphans, destitutes owing to the death or not becoming permanently incapacitated of their parents. They are provided with textbooks, stationery, food, clothing, health care, recreation and the like till the child attains the age of 18. The members of this foundation visit the children during their birthdays, before and after their annual examination and days of important celebrations, etc. which gives them a feeling of belongingness to overcome the trauma being faced by them. The National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences has contributed with some guidelines on what can be done by the community level workers to provide psychosocial care to the survivors of the violence. To summarize, there is a need to strive towards unshackling the caste barriers by favorable social, political, legal and economic action so that we move towards a more inclusive society devoid of social cleavages based on caste and inequalities, and which could stop caste-based conflicts in the society.